Sent from Disneyland, history in our hand. So much to say about yesterday and the decades we have spanned. Postcards from the park, this journey will embark. See what has changed and what remains on Sent from Disneyland. Sent from Disneyland.
Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland, Disneyland history, and more, with mementos, snapshots, souvenirs, and postcards sent from Disneyland, from 1955 to the present. Let's start by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in at any level to support the show and receive snail mail from my trips to Disneyland and from my desk, plus some sneak peeks and bonus content. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the rest of the e-ticket patrons, Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Bill Dreffel, Scott Cagle, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Angela Reynolds, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Patty Wolin, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron Joshua Bell, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Angel DeBlock, Daps Magic, and the Beyond the Railroad podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the Mark Twain at the dock of the Rivers of America. On the right you can see the Matterhorn, and to the left you can see the old mill located on Tom Sawyer Island. On the back it reads, "The stern wheeler, Mark Twain, steams quietly out of Frontierland, bound for an exciting journey down the rivers of America." It's postmarked July 8th, 1972, with the Los Angeles Cancel, and a 6-cent Wolf Trap Farm, Virginia, National Park Centennial postage stamp, Scott number 1452. I assume they visited the park on Friday, July 7th, 1972, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 84 and a low of 60. It's addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Edward Labe of Akron, Ohio. It reads, "Hi Helen and Edward. I had a safe trip to California. I'm having a wonderful time. I've seen so many beautiful places. I don't want to go back home. Smiles. Wish you both were here to join on the fun. We'll be home soon. Love, Dolores Thomas." During my most recent trip to Disneyland, I purchased the 70th anniversary book titled The Happiest Place on Earth, The Incredible Story of Walt Disney's Disneyland by Don Hahn and Chriostpher Merritt. It's an impressive addition to my Disney library. Looking through the first pages, I came across concept maps drawn by Imagineer and Disney legend Harper Goff for Disneyland, when the plan was to have the park near the Burbank Studio and Griffith Park. I've seen some of these images before, but it's nice to see 5 of them all in one book, and large enough to look at some of the great details. A few of the maps have detailed plans for each building. I thought it'd be fun on this episode to see what features made it into Disneyland over the years and what hasn't been added, at least not yet. One of the attractions, which is on all of the maps and currently at Disneyland, is the Disneyland Railroad circling the park. Like in the early days of Disneyland, there's only one station along the entire route. One of the planned features was to have the train go through at least one tunnel. On the right-hand side of the map, there's an island surrounded by a Rivers of America-styled waterway labeled Rivers of Imagination. Along the river is a marking for a boathouse to board either a sternwheeler or Captain Hook's pirate ship, the sternwheeler being the future Mark Twain, and the pirate ship either becoming the Columbia, which is currently in the Rivers of America, or the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship in the original through 1983 version of Fantasyland. On the island, there's a few attractions that have made it into Disneyland throughout the years, like the carousel, and, although much later, a Pinocchio attraction. Another 2 items on the island are a rocket ship, which looks like a horizontal image of the Moonliner, and an attraction named Spaceport. Spaceport being a generic name, and could be a reference to either an attraction like the future Rocket to the Moon or Mission to Mars, or it could be a restaurant like the Space Bar or Space Place. There are some common building names listed on the map like shops, general store, cafe, and exhibits. All of these things have been added to Disneyland in some form. More specific buildings are labeled Grand Opera House and Fire Station, which are currently on Main Street. Another listed building is Old Mill, which is shown on the map on the opposite side of the river from where it is today, and a music store. The description for the music store included that it would sell Disney music, And Disneyland has had a music store selling Disney music since opening day. Finally, there are 2 proposed buildings which became one when built in the park. One building marked Louisiana Plantation, and one marked Haunted House. I assume these ideas were combined to make the Haunted Mansion. Add some flair to your mail by checking out stamps at Enfield Post. You can explore different stamp options on our Etsy site, grab some great deals by following EP Sunday Sales on Instagram, or create something special and have her design a stamp array for your invitation or celebration. You can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship. On the right you can see Skull Rock, and standing on the deck of the ship is a cast member and a handful of guests. If you look closely, you can see the bridge that would take guests onto the boat. On the back it reads, Pirate Ship. Guests in Fantasyland enjoy visiting aboard the pirate ship as it lays at anchor in the cove at Skull Rock. A picturesque setting from the story of Peter Pan. It's postmarked June 21st, 1972, with a U.S. Postal Service cancel and a 6-cent Stone Mountain Memorial postage stamp, Scott number 1408. I assume they visited the park on Tuesday, June 20th, 1972, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 81 and a low of 60. It's addressed to the Van Ways of Redwood City, California. It reads, June 21st. Well, last night we went to Disneyland. Before that, we toured the Queen Mary, so we were walking from 9 a.m. until 1:20 a.m. Boy, were we tired. We're back in the apartment. I'll be home Friday, so could you let Mrs. Flynn know that I'll be able to candy stripe? Love, Helen, and Terry. Turning to the attractions, buildings, and features that didn't make it into the parks, one attraction was the Dollhouse. It's unclear if this was a store that sold dolls or a doll's house to view while waiting for a table at the nearby restaurant. An entire section of the park called Granny's Farm was dropped from the concept to final product. There have been farm and petting zoo elements at Disneyland, but not a specific place called Granny's Farm. Looking at the footprint of this area, which included much more elaborate structures than what was at Big Thunder Ranch, the closest Disneyland got to this idea might have been at Disney's California Adventure at the Bountiful Valley Farm. Another building on the island listed on the layout is Robin Hood Castle. These drawings were completed in the early 1950s, well before Disney's animated Robin Hood, but would have been around the time of Disney's second live-action film, The Story of Robin Hood and His Merry Men. Another building marked on the island was Cinderella's Palace, which might have been a restaurant or possibly an attraction. There are a few shapes on the island simply marked Ride, one square box and one circle with extended spokes, and an unmarked Ferris wheel. These are next to the planned attractions of the Spaceport, Rocket Ship, Carousel, and Pinocchio. The circle with extended spokes may have been a swing attraction like the Silly Symphony swings in DCA, or the start of a circus tent. The island, which is similar to Tom Sawyer Island, is accessible through a bridge instead of the raft system the park has used since the 1950s. The strange thing is the bridge is all the way at the back of the park, so guests would have to walk past the entire island before finding the entrance. Finally, one feature that is described on 2 of the maps was a post office. There's a decorative post office currently in Frontierland, but the description on the map reads, Disneyland Post Office, all mail order items postmarked at this office, small town replica. It would have been great to have had a working post office in Disneyland. Both maps have the post office near the public amenities or near a town square or gazebo. My incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is a craft hour on Instagram starting at 9 p.m. Eastern or 6 Pacific. Art Throwdown is a wonderful community of artists who love to share their craft, from creating sticker postcards and coloring techniques to intricate paper cutting and unique crafting. It's always a treat to watch a show and occasionally get some one-of-a-kind postcards from the group. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has a vintage aerial view of downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. showing the point where the two rivers converge. It's postmarked May 12, 2025, with a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania cancel and a 2-sailboat postcard forever postage stamp. Scott number 5747. It reads, "Greetings from my hometown of Pittsburgh, PA. Famous for Heinz, Andrews, and a heck of a lot of bridges. Jamie." Thank you so much for the postcard, Jamie. This postcard seemed perfect for this episode, with the map plus the bridges. Think about the plans for the bridge that would have crossed the rivers of America and how it would have affected the park. The style of the bridge was a drawbridge that would have raised and lowered for passing ships, which really makes me think about what park flow would have been like with that. This postcard also got me thinking about sending postcards to my friends from my hometown, which is where I live, but still would be fun to do. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sent from Disneyland or my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney-related properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. This podcast is produced and edited by Clocky McDowell, website designed by Misty McDowell, theme song was written and performed by Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. Take it away, Noah.